I'm Brian Inskip with Surf Homes NC. Let's talk about why you might want to own a vacation rental property on the beaches of North Carolina. Well, for starters, real estate provides 5 different ways for you to make money: cash flow, debt service, depreciation, appreciation, and additional tax write-offs that are available to you as a rental property owner. So as an investment, it's really unbeatable. It's no secret that the world's most wealthy people, all of them have one thing in common, which is they own real estate, and for a lot of them, it's the primary way that they built their wealth. So not only that, when it comes to vacation rentals, you can buy rental property anywhere. But with vacation rentals, you not only get the 5 different ways of making money, but you also get the benefit of having a property that you can have an all expense paid vacation multiple times a year to come out and enjoy personally and make memories. And that really is priceless. So vacation rentals at the beach, in my opinion, is really unbeatable. What is the biggest myth that I run into when it comes to buying or owning a vacation rental here on the beaches of North Carolina? The biggest myth that I run into is definitely, hands down, without contest, that you have to buy an oceanfront property in order to make money. In this video, we're gonna bust up that myth, and I'm gonna show you how virtually any beach house can be a successful short-term vacation rental venture. Now, nobody's saying that oceanfront houses don't make great short-term vacation rental properties. Obviously, they do. For example, here's a house that I recently sold here on Oak Island that brings in over $225,000 a year in annual gross rents. When properly evaluated and operated, these oceanfront properties can make phenomenal short-term vacation rental ventures. But we're here today to show you that whether you purchase an oceanfront house, a house just a block or 2 from the beach, maybe a property that's on one of the canals or the Intracoastal Waterway, or you get something back in what we call the wooded section of Oak Island, there's killer options for all different price ranges with all different kinds of amenities like direct water access, proximity to different parks, fishing piers, and all just a short walk from the beach, with a huge rental market where people are just dying to rent these places virtually anywhere on the island. So we're gonna take an in-depth look at 3 different highly successful short-term vacation rental properties, one oceanfront, one a few blocks away, and one on the backside of Oak Island, to prove to you once and for all that you do not have to have an oceanfront property in order to have a successful short-term rental investment. Before we look at the examples that I'm gonna share, it's also important to understand what makes them successful. So I'm gonna highlight some of the top things that you can do to ensure that you're running a successful operation, and think about those ahead of time. So here's my top 10 tips for running a highly successful short-term rental investment property on the beaches of North Carolina. Number 1, make it beachy. Your guests are here for a beach vacation, and you want to make sure that all the decor, the colors, everything inside the property really embraces that beach vibe that everybody loves. There's not one design scheme to actually make it a beachy property. You know, there's different themes you can go with a more nautical theme or more of a vintage beach vibe. There's all different ways you can go. The general rule of thumb is that you want people to feel like they're at the beach even when they're inside your property, and you want to remind them that they're at the beach, not just some random house in the middle of Nebraska. A really beachy looking property is going to have a lot more appeal than one with everyday features and decor. And potential guests, they're going to notice that, and that's going to directly lead to more bookings for you and even possibility of higher rents. That brings us to number 2 on the top 10 list. You always want to make sure that the property is fully equipped for people to come and stay and have everything that they need. This is especially true and often overlooked when it comes to all your different kitchenware and appliances. While your guests may go out for dinner a few nights, or maybe even most nights, they're renting your property to spend time together at the property. So you want to make sure you've got a nice grill, all the appropriate grill tools, quality pots and pans and utensils, glassware, anything else you would need to enjoy making a meal and spending time with loved ones. Now, the best way to do this is to actually stay in the property yourself for a week. make meals at the property, and make sure that you've got everything that people need to live there just like it was their own home. Number 3, guests really appreciate when you have a property book inside of your rental that has things like local guides, nearby restaurants, menus for those restaurants, local maps, as well as information about the property itself. This is not only going to reduce the amount of questions and communications that you need to have with your guests, saving you a lot of time, but it's also going to add to the enjoyment and relaxation that they have when they're at the property. And over time, it's actually going to grow organically as your guests are going to add things to it, including different flyers, maybe some coupons and things like that for different area attractions that they enjoyed during their stay. Property book is a low-cost investment that will add to your guests having the best stay possible at your awesome property. Number 4, if you can supply some basic beach equipment like beach chairs, towels, boogie boards, this is a huge plus for a lot of guests and can actually be the determining factor for someone renting your property versus renting another property. And I'll share a personal story for this one. My family and I, we actually recently took a trip down to Cocoa Beach, Florida, and we had kind of figured out our top 3 properties that we were looking at and trying to decide which one to rent. Well, we noticed that one of them had beach chairs, beach umbrella, coolers, boogie boards, and all that kind of stuff furnished with the property. Well, we were going to be driving down there, and we've got 3 kids, so we come with a carload, and that's not easy to transport all that stuff. So the fact that we didn't have to haul all our beach gear down there, that was a huge value add to us, and actually one of the determining factors why we chose the property that we chose versus the other ones that didn't provide that kind of stuff. So keep in mind, guests who are researching rental properties, they might be flying in and literally can't even bring all that stuff with them even if they wanted to. So offsetting the cost of having to rent beach gear or the time and effort of having to pack and travel with their own gear is always a huge value add. So this can lead directly to extra bookings, and you can actually get a higher rent rate if you're providing that kind of value for your guests. Number 5, take that beach equipment to the next level. So providing some premium extras, especially if your property is in a location that has direct water access just around the corner or maybe even on the water, that can really add to the outdoor entertainment and value for your guests. So providing things like kayaks, bicycles, fishing gear, surfboards, maybe even a golf cart, things like that make it easy for your guests to get around and explore the island and have fun at a more in-depth level. And that's a huge value add and can be the make or break difference of why somebody chooses your property over another one. Number 6, there's nothing worse than being stuck indoors on a rainy day with nothing to do on your beach vacation. Now, you can't control the weather, but if there's literally nothing to do at your property, your guests are not going to have a very good time and they're going to be pretty bummed out. So having great entertainment options at your property can also make or break a vacation for your guests. Just imagine if it rained for 3 days straight out of a 5-day beach vacation and your guests still had a great time playing games and bonding instead of just sitting inside, spending their whole trip watching TV. Cultivating a fun experience for your guests while they're hanging out, making meals, getting ready for, or even unwinding after a long day at the beach is key. So having a fire pit, cornhole set, bocce ball, different board games, puzzles, things like that, even one of those little ring and hook games that you can sit around and play for hours, those are all great add-ons for any beach rental. Either way though, entertainment is a must and can be an awesome personal touch for your property. Number 7. Online reviews are super valuable, but nowadays people often overlook the value of actually having a physical guest book where guests can handwrite their memories and experience and notes about the property and create shared messages and actually start building a historical log of the property and people that have been there that spans over the years and adds to the nostalgia and the story of the property. This creates a more intimate experience for your guests, and it also reinforces all the great times and memories that they made while staying at your property. So get a guest book to keep inside the property. It's another low-cost, high-return investment that you have to make for your property. Number 8, you absolutely want to make sure that you use professional pictures and video to advertise your property. Marketing is key, and there's a couple different things I'll talk about here, but I cannot stress this one enough. When people are looking for a place to stay on their vacation, they're going to start looking online first. So they're going to be looking for any pictures or videos that different properties have before they make their selection. So having the highest possible quality of photos and videos, that's going to communicate that you're offering a high quality property and experience. It may seem like an unnecessary expense and I can just take these with my cell phone, but the return on this one-time investment is 100% worth it if you want to ensure that your property stands out from the crowd. I can go into more detail about what things outside of the property itself that absolutely need to be included in the photos and video, like different aerial shots, but the right professional is going to know what shots to get and probably already has a good number of those on hand. But it's definitely not just about taking pictures of the interior of the property and maybe a frontal shot. You've got to get things about the surrounding area, the amenities for the property itself and the local community, and make sure that they tell an awesome story to your guests that they won't want to miss out on. And if you need a guy for professional photos, I've got a guy. Just give me a shout and I can get you hooked up. A couple other notes, because this is along the marketing lines. One of the other key things I think when it comes to marketing a vacation rental property is you got to pick out an awesome name for that property. That's one of the most fun things about it, naming the property, catching the vibe of the property that people can kind of center on and really enjoy. And that's how they get to know the property. So it's almost like a person in that respect. And then you also want to write a killer property description that talks about not only all the property features, but also the area stuff so that guests know what they're in for when they come and book a vacation at your place. Number 9, this one should go without saying, but when it comes to vacation rental property, clean is king. It is hands down one of the most important things on this list. You need to make sure that you have fantastic, reliable cleaners, because there's nothing that will lead to negative reviews faster than guests who show up excited for their vacation and their rental is dirty or left in less than pristine condition. So make sure you invest in quality cleaners that are going to do a great job every single time, period. All right, now last but not least, number 10. Follow the golden rule, which is do unto others. You want to make sure that you set your property up just like you would if you were setting it up for yourself. One of the reasons that short-term rental properties have become so popular over a boring old hotel room is because guests want to stay in a property that feels like home. So as I mentioned before, the best way to make sure you've set the property up as if you were going to be paying to stay there for a week yourself is to actually stay in the property yourself and find out what's missing, then put all those things into place. And you want to consider everything from kitchenware, beach equipment, comfortable linens. It should feel warm, welcoming, and it should have all those extra things that a hotel room is not going to provide. And always remember, have fun with this stuff. If you're not enjoying setting up an awesome beach vacation space for your guests to enjoy, you're going to have a hard time finding the kind of success that we're talking about here. Creating a space that your guests can enjoy with ease is far more important than location on its own when it comes to long-term vacation rental success. Another often overlooked key to success is proper evaluation. Now that we've covered how to set up your property for success, let's dive into how to properly evaluate and select a property for your new short-term vacation rental. Question number 1, what do you want? No one in history has ever realized a goal without first defining it. The most important first step to diving into this new world is to identify exactly what it is you want from a short-term vacation rental property and establish that goal clearly. Do you want this property to be a vacation home for your personal use and you're wanting to offset that cost by renting it out? Or is it strictly an investment property where the most important thing is to get the maximum return on the investment as possible? Both paths can lead to success, but it's important to identify what success looks like to you. Question number 2, what is your budget for this property? You need to understand what you can do before you decide what you're going to do. Anybody that's ever worked with me will tell you how much effort and importance I put on doing diligent market research. The numbers never lie if you run them correctly, and it can really simplify a lot of things. Running the numbers means looking at the different financing options that are out there for second home properties or investment properties versus an all-cash purchase. You need to know what the different down payment requirements are, what different loan programs are available, and all the different costs associated with owning and operating different types of properties here on the coast. So diligently establishing your budget is going to help you focus your property search and it's gonna help ensure a successful cash flow positive operation down the road. So now that you've established a goal, you know what kind of budget you're working with, it's time for question number 3. What are your priorities? It's time to take a look at the different available options in your budget range and decide what your must-haves are in terms of amenities, location, and experience that you want for your property. Is proximity to water or beach access at the top of your list? Would you like to be close to restaurants, grocery stores, parks, things like that? Or maybe a prime location like Oceanfront is your top priority. The point here is everybody's different and has different priorities, but taking a good hard look and weighing out your different desires is going to be the best way to filter through the available options that are out there and help you start to narrow things down. So answering this question is going to help you realize that some things are just less important to you than you thought, and others are non-negotiable. Now the good news is you definitely don't have to do all this area research and figuring out alone. You know, if there's one thing that I want to stress to you today that's going to make this whole process easier and create less headaches for you and get you to your desired end result faster, especially if you live out of town and aren't that familiar with the area out here, is going to be to make sure that you get the right local pro on your team to help you out. The best first step is to give me a call so I can help you through each one of these steps, helping you think through it and find your way through all of it, making sure that everything's accounted for and that you're set up to win and have a turnkey operation ready to go from day one. It's also going to make it a lot less stressful and a lot more fun. Helping you identify and nail down the things that you're most passionate about is ultimately what's going to resonate with the right renters for your property, and it's going to shine through in the experiences that they have while staying at your awesome rental property. Question number 4. How will you manage the property? When it comes to property management on short-term rentals, there's really 2 different options. Option number 1 is to self-manage the property, and option number 2 is to hire a property management company to do the management for you. I have clients that do both, and there's no wrong answer to this. The good news is that we have a lot of different property management companies here on the North Carolina coast that specialize in short-term and vacation rentals. So if you decide to go the management route, I have great recommendations for you on who would be the best fit depending on what type of property you end up with and the location. If you decide you want to self-manage the property, I definitely recommend using a property management software that's going to have everything that you need in one place. I use a system called Guesty. We'll have a link for that somewhere in the comments or on the screen. What this software does is it brings all your communication, marketing, rental schedules, accounting, and even more than that into one single program so that you don't have to update it in various different places, and you can do all that communication and everything from one central location, so you just have one spot to manage from. Answering this management question is an important step towards the end goal of running a successful operation, and it's really going to come down to valuing your time and effort versus profit for your vacation rental. Now that you know your goals, you've set out your budget, you've outlined some of your top priorities, and you've got a management plan in place, it's time for our last big question. Question number 5. What is your pricing and rental schedule? At this point, we've got everything else aligned to ensure a successful operation, and those other answers are going to have a big impact on what the best pricing and rental schedule for your property is going to be. For example, oceanfront properties tend to rent out on a weekly schedule, so a minimum of a full week booking during the peak rental season months, that's going to be the best performance. Whereas properties that are further off the beach tend to perform better and make you more money if you have a shorter minimum booking time, like 3 or 4 nights. So it's important to remember that all renters exist on a spectrum, and they have different budgets, they have different priorities and goals in the very same way that real estate investors do, just like you do. A fun, beachy property decked out with beach equipment and games and toys, maybe even a golf cart, is going to get more bookings and command higher pricing than a property in a similar location without all the extras. When determining the answer to this question, you also have to account for your budget for the property. Things like ongoing maintenance, management costs, turnover costs, cleaning costs, marketing costs, taxes, insurance, and all the other expenses that come with owning real estate. These can all cause you a huge headache if they're not properly accounted for in the beginning. And again, nailing down pricing and rental schedule is something that the right property manager or myself can help you with, or something that if you decide to take on yourself, I can at least steer you in the right direction. So getting all this dialed in and aligned with your goals, your budget, your priorities, your management plan, that's the best way to eliminate risk and ensure a successful operation. So now that you've answered these important questions and you have a better understanding of all the ins and outs of running a successful short-term vacation rental venture, it's time to dive into our 3 property examples and see exactly what it looks like to operate a highly successful vacation rental property anywhere on the coast using 3 specific examples. All right, so let's dig into these property examples. I've got 3 examples that I'm gonna share with you of different types of properties on Oak Island. This could apply to any beach in coastal North Carolina, and we're gonna look at 3 different examples. I've got the spreadsheets in front of me with all the numbers. It's also important to note that these are all properties that I have sold myself and been involved with, so I have direct knowledge on these properties. We're not just pulling these numbers out of thin air. The first property I want to look at, this is an oceanfront home. It's a 6-bedroom house. So this is going to be one of your premium rental properties with location and size. So this is going to get on the top end tier of rental income. So this example, the property was purchased for $2,050,300 with a 20% down payment. You're looking at just over $410,000 cash out of pocket if you're doing financing. The monthly payment on that for your mortgage is going to be right around $11,215 a month. That's figuring a 6% interest rate. So if rates are higher or lower, you would adjust these numbers to account for that. That mortgage payment, that includes your taxes and your insurance as well. So that's what we call the pity payment, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance all wrapped into one if you're escrowing for that. So total monthly payment, including taxes and insurance and your mortgage, is $11,215 at 6% interest rate. Your other expenses on the property, including your management fee, your maintenance, utilities, and things like that, incidentals. Total expenses we figured on this one for $55,600 annually. That includes setting aside 10% for deferred maintenance costs for eventual larger repairs that you might need. So you may not use that whole budget every year, but you definitely want to be stocking it away each year so that when bigger expenses come up, you're not caught by surprise. So total net income on this property was $29,820 annually, creating a 7% cash on cash return, which is really good. If you look around and look for investments that are going to yield you an annual 7% return, those can be hard to find these days, especially while interest rates are low. So 7% cash on cash return, that's great out of the gate. And again, this is with financing. When we look further, so right there, we're just looking at cash flow, strictly at cash flow. But with real estate, what I love about it, or one of the things I love, is that you have the ability to create wealth and get paid multiple different ways from the same investment. So the next thing that we look at is the amortization schedule, which is the rate that you're paying down the principal balance on your loan. Also call that debt service. So after just 5 years of owning the property and making those regular monthly mortgage payments, you'll have paid off $116,127. After 10 years, you'll have paid off $270,564. At the 15-year mark, you've paid off almost $500,000 at $478,875. And at 20 years of owning the property, making those regular payments, you'll have paid off $759,856. And what's cool is you're not actually the one paying it off. If this is an investment property, your guests and your renters are actually paying that off. So in 20 years, you're inching up on $1 million of debt service already paid off by your renters, and that is equity in the property. Also, you're getting the benefit of depreciation. So you'll get the ability to claim $87,246.81 annually against other income that you might have. This can be a big deal to offset income and create a tax benefit for you. And sometimes depreciation can even bump you into a lower tax bracket and create substantial savings. This one's really going to depend on your overall financial picture, how that impacts you, but that's also something that you want to take into account when you're looking at the total return that real estate provides, because a lot of people just look at the cash flow, and if you're only looking at cash flow, then you're missing out on some of the biggest values of actually buying and owning real estate. The next thing that we look at is the appreciation rate. That's how the property value changes, which we know historically real estate values go up over time, especially here at the beach. So at 5 years, with an average annual appreciation rate of 3%, which it ranges from 3 to 5% nationwide depending on where you're at. So I actually use the lower end for this projection. At 5 years, that property that you purchased for just over $2 million has now appreciated and is worth $2,665,390. At the 10-year mark with appreciation, that property has gone up almost $1 million or over $1 million in value at $3,465,007. At the 15-year mark, it has doubled in value and would be worth $4,504,509. That's more than doubling the value of the property over 15 years. And at 20 years, that property with the 3% annual appreciation would be worth $5,855,861 with that average annual 3% appreciation rate. So now when we combine all these things together, cash flow, your debt service, depreciation, and appreciation, at the 5-year mark, so we're only going to look at the 5-year mark on this, your total value that you've built, or the wealth that you built from the property, is sitting at $847,344 after just 5 years. That creates a cash on cash return of 136%. So you go find me other investments where you can be that confident that you're able to achieve 136% return on your investment, and I will be all ears. So that's property number one. Again, a premier property, oceanfront, commanding premium rents. It's a premium property with amazing furnishings and books out 100% in the peak season every single year. So I think it goes without saying, it's hard to lose on a brand new oceanfront property that's in pristine condition with an elevated pool and all the amenities. But if that's outside your budget, for a slightly different vibe, for those who really like to prioritize and diversify their outdoor activities to include things like boating, kayaking, fishing, and other fun water activities, is on the back side of Oak Island in the wooded section, just a few blocks from one of the many public boat ramps, fishing piers, and kayak launches on the island. All right, for this second property, we're gonna go to the total opposite end of the spectrum. So we're gonna go back into the wooded section of Oak Island, where you can find really affordable homes that can still do really well as investment or rental property, both short-term or long-term. So this property was purchased for $275,000, a down payment of $55,000 at a 20% down payment. Your total monthly payment with taxes and insurance included at a 6% interest rate is $1,532 a month. Other expenses on this property, including management fee, utilities, maintenance, and setting that aside for future use if needed, is $10,960 a year, creating a net income for the year of $2,656 positive net cash flow. That creates a cash on cash annual return of 5%, which is still super solid. If you're putting your money in the bank, you're not getting a 5% annual return on that money. Then we jump down, start looking at our debt service value, how that's building for us. So after 5 years of owning this property, you've paid off $15,575 of the principal loan balance. At 10 years, you've paid off $36,290. At 15 years, you're at $64,230, and at the 20-year mark, you've paid off $101,917, which is pretty freaking awesome because, again, it's not you paying that off, it's your renters, and now all of a sudden you've built $101,000 in equity just through debt service. Next, we jump down to depreciation. On this one, you're looking at $11,702.13 per year that you get to claim on your taxes to offset other income as depreciation. Appreciation, again, we're figuring 3% annual appreciation rate. At the 5-year mark, this property that you purchased for $275,000 is now worth $357,500. At the 10-year mark, you're at $464,750. At 15 years, you've more than doubled the value of the property and you're sitting at $604,175. And at 20 years, you're at $785,427.50, which is phenomenal. So that is equity in the property that you've got, comparing it to the purchase price of $275,000. Looking at the overall, and again, we're looking at just the 5-year mark on this to give you an idea. It actually grows exponentially as you go out from 5 years, because in the beginning of a loan, you're paying less on principal versus in the later years. So every year you're paying down that loan, you're actually increasing the rate that you're paying it down. So with your cash flow, appreciation, and debt service, the total value that you've built in the property at 5 years is $113,650. That creates a 207% cash on cash return against that down payment that you made of $55,000. And that is one of the things that I love about real estate. Even though the purchase price of the property was $275,000, you only had to use cash out of pocket for the down payment. So that's really the only cash that you have into the property, and that's what you get to figure your return on. So you're leveraging other people's money, in this case, the bank's money, if you're financing these properties. Now, if you're buying these cash, then these numbers change completely. Maybe we'll do a video on that, just looking at it from a cash standpoint. So remember, early in this video, we said we were gonna bust the myth that you don't have to have an oceanfront property in order to have a successful investment on the islands here in North Carolina, and I think this one definitely proves that. This is a property back in the wooded section. While it's got a lot of things going for it, it's 2 blocks off of one of the walkover bridges to allow you to get right down to the beach. It's not oceanfront, and most people would still probably drive or want to take a golf cart or something like that to get down to the beach, but still performs well at the 5-year mark, still getting you a 207% cash on cash return and 5% annual. I mean, that is hard to beat. Plus, you've got a place that you can still come and enjoy personally anytime that you want. Here's an attractive option a few rows back that checks a ton of boxes for a fraction of the cost. With this last property that we're gonna look at, I wanna share something that comes up a lot of times. I get clients coming out here all the time that are looking for second homes or vacation homes that they wanna be able to take a couple trips out to the beach each year, but they're not super concerned with it being a cash cow investment property. So they're buying it for personal use and they wanna offset their costs of having that second home beach house by renting it when they're not using it. And I think this property is a prime example of that, because this one is actually offering the lowest returns out of all the properties that we're looking at today. But this will be a good example of looking at a different type of investment property. So this is a property on the 3rd row, west end of Oak Island. Purchase price of $780,000 with a down payment of $156,000. That's 20%. The total monthly payment, again, your pity payment would be $4,425 on this one at a 6% rate. Again, that's bringing in your insurance and taxes into that monthly payment as well, so escrowing those. With all your other fees combined, management fee, utilities, maintenance, all that good stuff, total expenses for this one would be $22,350 annually, creating a net income of just over $1,000. So this one's actually only creating a 1% annual cash on cash return. So much lower cash flow than that first oceanfront example that we shared. But this property was a really premium home. It was done really well on the inside, and so it sold for premium dollar. You don't necessarily need all the bells and whistles that this property has, so you could get one that brings in similar rents that would be at a lower price point. And again, we're figuring a 6% interest rate on the loan. But next we jump down, we start to look at what's happening with the amortization and debt service. So at 5 years on this property, you've paid off $44,178. At 10 years, you're at $102,931. At 15 years, you're at $182,180, and at the 20-year mark, you're at $289,074. That's phenomenal. So you've still generated almost $300,000 in equity on this property at the 20-year mark for just that down payment that you put in, and you had a property that you got to enjoy yourself. Next, we're pulling in depreciation. This is one of the cool things I like about real estate. Even if you're making money on a property, when you post up that depreciation, in this case, it's $28,363.63 a year. So this one has positive cash flow, but when you pull that depreciation in, you're actually not gonna show income, so you're not gonna have to pay taxes on this, even though you put extra money in the bank. You had positive cash flow, that depreciation offsets it. So real estate's one of those unique investments where you can make money and not have to pay taxes on it if things work out right. Next, let's go to the powerhouse of appreciation. At the 5-year mark, and again, we're using a 3% annual rate of appreciation. At the 5-year mark, you're looking at a value of $904,233. At the 10-year mark, this property is worth $1,017,723. At 15 years, you're at $1,179,819. And at the 20-year mark, this property is nearly doubled in value at $1,367,734. Pulling all those together, cash flow, appreciation, debt service, so we're not even pulling in the depreciation value into this number. Your total return on this property at the 5-year mark is $212,589, creating a cash on cash 5-year return of 136%. Again, where are you going to go find something that's going to yield you 136%? The 401ks aren't doing that. Unless you're really good, crypto's probably not even doing that for you. And this is why I love real estate, is because you're creating tax shelters, you're creating positive cash flow, you're able to offset that cash flow with some of the tax advantages, you're building appreciation. You get to claim appreciation, or you get the benefit of appreciation while claiming depreciation, which those two things are polar opposites of each other. One is saying going up in value, one is saying going down in value. So 136% return in 5 years is hard to beat. Plus, again, you're getting the benefit of having a place that you can come stay and vacation at. And these properties rent for several $1,000s a week. So that is a huge benefit. You get to make memories. That's actually priceless. And this is something that a lot of people are after. They're not necessarily looking at it as an investment, but they'd love to be able to have that second home that is getting paid for during the time that they're not using it. And I absolutely love that. And there you have it, myth busted, that you have to have an oceanfront property to have success with a short-term rental. All of these properties that we just talked about make money. All of these properties, at a minimum, provide you with an awesome beach house that somebody else is gonna pay for, and you can still vacation to multiple times a year. And all of them will pay for themselves over time. Call that debt service. All of them also offer tax relief in the form of depreciation. Factor in the fact that all real estate increases in value, and boom, you can change your life in the blink of an eye with a vacation rental property anywhere here on the coast. I really hope this video has been helpful in showing you all the different possibilities on the horizon. We went through the top 10 pro tips for owning a vacation rental here at the beach, and we covered the 5 key questions that you need to ask and answer as you're getting started trying to find the right property for you. So we've done all that, and if you've gotten this far, I've just got to say that I've got a ton of respect for you, because you're taking action to go out there and learn and make this happen for yourself and for your family. And most people never really do anything to make their dreams a reality. So you should be excited. I'm proud of you for taking this step, and I love hearing from like-minded people who are actively making their dreams become a reality. Who doesn't want to own property at the beach? Especially when you get the double benefit of it being a vacation home and a property that can create a great financial windfall for you and your family, possibly for generations to come. The difference between those that make this type of idea a reality and those that don't simply comes down to action. So if you're still a little bit overwhelmed or you're just beginning to dream of owning a property here at the coast, that's understandable. I've been there. I bought my first investment property in my early 20s with virtually no money, definitely no clue what I was doing. I made every mistake in the book, but taking those first steps and getting started, getting going, that has hands down proved to be the best financial decision that I've ever made for myself and for my family. That's the reason that I'm so passionate about helping you to do the same thing, whether this is your first property or your 50th. I'm always just a phone call away if there's any specific questions I can help you with or figuring out your specific situation. Just give me a shout. I can walk you through the process, show you some real-time options that fit your situation and your priorities so that we can start to paint a picture of what that ideal property is going to be for you. You can also head over to my website anytime. It's surfhomesnc.com. You can use my beautiful search feature there to begin looking for that ideal property that's going to check all your boxes. It's the best local search tool for coastal North Carolina properties. If you like this video and you want to see more about coastal real estate and North Carolina lifestyle, check out some of my other YouTube videos on my channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you get notified of all the new stuff. We're always putting a lot of cool stuff out there with new stuff coming all the time. So hit that subscribe button. Our goal there is to educate and entertain you for all things coastal North Carolina real estate and lifestyle. So again, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks again for watching, and until the next one, I hope to see you out here at the beach.